In the story of modern history, few ideas have reshaped society more than feminism. It's a word loaded with hope, conflict, and controversy. But what happens when a movement meant to liberate becomes part of the system it was trying to change? What if, instead of offering freedom, it offered only the illusion of choice? To understand this, we need to go back to the beginning. Feminism, in its earliest form, was simple. It was about fairness. Women, for centuries, had been denied rights. The right to vote, to own property, to speak freely, to work certain jobs. First-wave feminism, which emerged in the 19th and early 20th centuries, focused on legal rights, especially the right to vote. These early feminists were women fighting for dignity in a world that treated them as second-class citizens. They succeeded in many ways. Women won the right to vote. Education became more open. Legal structures slowly shifted. But something changed in the decades that followed. As feminism moved into its second wave, in the 1960s and 70s, the message broadened. It was no longer just about laws. It was about roles, identity, and power. The household was reimagined as a place of oppression. The mother was no longer just the nurturer. She was seen as caged. Women were encouraged to leave the home, to pursue careers, to break free from the traditional roles. That, on the surface, looked like progress. But who truly benefited? Was it women, or was it the system? Here's where the illusion begins. By encouraging women to join the workforce, the economy gained a second labour force. Families that once survived on one income suddenly needed two. Prices rose, living costs went up. Corporations gained more workers, more hours, more profit. The feminist call for independence, unknowingly or not, became a tool for expanding the economic machine. Now both parents had to work. Children were raised by institutions, daycares, schools, screens. The family, once a unit of emotional and cultural grounding, began to dissolve. Mothers were told they were wasting their potential if they stayed home. Men were told their masculinity was toxic. The lines between roles blurred, but instead of creating balance, society drifted into confusion. Feminism promised freedom, but freedom from what? From motherhood? From femininity? From tradition? Or from meaning? Because alongside the economic shift came something deeper, a loss of purpose. In traditional cultures, roles were not just duties, they were identities. Being a mother, a father, a protector, a nurturer, these were not traps, they were paths to meaning. When feminism attacked these roles as chains, it didn't replace them with something deeper. It replaced them with choice. But choice without grounding can become chaos. Today, we live in a world where women can do almost anything. That should be a triumph. But many women report being unhappier now than they were decades ago. Depression, anxiety, and loneliness have all risen. The idea that career success would bring fulfillment often turns out to be hollow. Working long hours for companies with no loyalty, climbing ladders that lead nowhere emotionally. This is not the freedom many envisioned. And many are lost. With traditional masculinity criticised and new models unclear, boys grow up confused. They're told to be strong, but not too strong. To lead, but not dominate. To feel, but not be weak. The balance is delicate and often punishing. Feminism, in its noble origin, sought balance. But modern culture has sometimes taken it to extremes. In trying to flatten the differences between men and women, we've denied that those differences might have value. Biological realities are treated like social constructs. Emotional needs are ignored in favour of productivity. And while we chase progress, we forget to ask, what are we progressing toward? Technology, mobility, information, these are the tools of the modern world. But tools don't give us meaning. We now live longer, have more conveniences, and more freedoms than ever. But we also have fewer communities, more fragmented families, and skyrocketing mental health issues. Feminism, freedom, choice. These are powerful words, but their power comes from the values behind them. When choice becomes a replacement for values, we get lost. When freedom is mistaken for the absence of responsibility, we become adrift. And when feminism forgets its roots in dignity and balance, it becomes a hammer where we needed a compass. The deeper issue is this: in solving technical problems like legal rights, workforce access, economic participation, We have often ignored the spiritual problems: meaning, belonging, identity, love. The old world had many flaws. It was not perfect, but it offered clarity. Roles, though rigid, were understood. Families were central. Meaning came from duty, faith, and relationships. Today, we trade that clarity for flexibility. But at what cost? A woman today can choose to be a CEO or a stay-at-home mum. That is good. But when society mocks one of those choices or pressures all women toward one path, is that really freedom? Or is it conformity dressed as choice? Men can be sensitive or stoic, but when every expression of masculinity is questioned, do boys grow up empowered or ashamed? We live in a time where everything can be questioned, but very little is sacred. That has given us curiosity, but also confusion. It has given us openness, but also instability. Feminism is not the enemy, nor is freedom. But when these ideas are used as tools by systems that profit from instability, they become hollow. The illusion of choice is when we are offered a menu of options, all leading to the same destination: consumption, disconnection, and distraction. We must ask harder questions. What kind of freedom do we want? What kind of society are we building? What does a good life truly look like? To move forward, we need balance. A feminism that respects difference. A freedom that honors responsibility. A society that values both choice and meaning. Maybe then we will not just live longer, but live better. That is the signal in the noise. That is the question that won't be silenced. This is my first video on this channel. Subscribe for more truths.